you and I have not changed at all since high school. Take that to the bank.
That's probably true.
Yeah, it's probably more true than either of us wants to admit. Yeah, but you know what? We are perfect people. We're absolutely flawless individuals, so it's a good thing we haven't changed.
Yeah, I mean, how do you improve on perfection?
Exactly. Speaking of perfection, hello everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and perfect pal, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I know you have a really long and detailed pitch to give us today.
That's maybe...
So I'm excited for what you have.
Maybe not as long and detailed as you want it to be, because I've had a very busy week. I've been a busy boy this week. I got...
Oh damn, he's gonna lie to us right now. He's gonna act like this is nothing, but he's about to talk for about 3 hours.
I was a busy lad this week, all right? I had other stuff to write, like articles and stuff. I did get an article published. I don't know if I told you that. Which is cool.
Mr.
Yeah, look at me.
Over here.
I'm not getting paid for it, but who cares? And so I came up with the idea for this show a couple weeks back. You probably remember when I teased it at the end of an episode.
Oh, and you threw it out and we're like, this is the next episode, and then it didn't happen.
Exactly. And so...
Yeah, it was actually your accidental April Fool's joke, because it was the week before April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
And you just pitched something completely different for April Fool's Day.
Very fun. But...
Though I would like to point out, Charlie, that the last couple times you've told me beforehand that you have a shorter pitch today, you have then produced the longest episodes we have, so... That
is true. I don't think that's going to happen today. And I wrote most of this today, this morning, with my morning coffee, is when I wrote pretty much all of it. That's except for the opening segment. So this is, again, if you had forgotten, Priscilla, Greatmother of the Wastes, is the name of the show.
Oh.
It is a post-apocalyptic adventure show. It's a little bit more similar to what we used to do. You know, I feel like we've been doing lots of long, overarching stories, right, with like beginning, middles, and ends, and all this sorts of stuff. And I'm kind of going back to a little bit of a road trip adventure show with a colorful cast of characters, right? That's kind of what I'm doing this week, and not just because it's easier to come up with individual episode ideas rather than a big long plot, That's not the reason.
Yeah.
So, Priscilla O'Hare is the matriarch of a small Irish family in 1863 when she falls ill. In a fit of despair, her grandson wishes upon a shooting star that his grandmother may never have to die. Priscilla O'Hare is the leader of a small band of travelers making their way through the wasteland in the year 3023. She has led them through the most grueling treks in search of food, water, shelter, and riches. So that's our opening, right?
Very nice.
Basically,
Is that like the narrator says that? Or?
Me, the narrator. Okay. So basically the idea is I had this idea of like, what if, you always see whenever anyone's made immortal in movies and TV shows, right? It's usually like a buff dude, who's like made immortal in his prime, right? But wouldn't it be funny if instead of a buff, handsome guy who can like sword fight and shoot guns and like do all sorts of fun stuff, it's a little old lady, right? A little old lady who's still like dangerous, right? She's been around for a while. She's got tricks, maybe she can throw a punch, but it breaks her hand.
Yeah.
But her hand heals back because she's immortal, right? So it's kind of like Wolverine almost. But you've got this little old lady who's basically this immortal adventuring warrior who's like lived for centuries and seen all sorts of fun stuff, right? Fun stuff like both world wars, the Vietnam War, the space race, the Cold War, all sorts of fun stuff like that. And she now, in this like post-apocalyptic wasteland, she leads a small band of people who are basically making their way across the wastes, and it's like 4 or 5 people. I've got 4 people written down here, and they're just basically going their way. Each of the characters has their own personal goal, but each one of those goals ties into everyone else's, in some sort of fashion, right? And so our first character we have here is Jimmy Mack, is a former scoundrel who was rescued by Priscilla after a heist gone wrong. He has an intimate knowledge of the Waste's criminal elements, as well as skills at safecracking, weapons manufacturing, and as a hired gun, right? So that's our character, Jimmy Mack, right? He's kind of the regular, stereotypical wasteland survival guy, right? He knows a little bit. He's a jack of all trades, but master of none, sort of a thing, But he's got knowledge. He's street smart, right? And then we have Mary First. That's her name because she is the first of her, she has 15 siblings, and she's the first girl, and they name all the girls Mary, and so her sister is named Mary Second, her other sister's Mary Third, that sort of thing. Her name is Mary First, and she is a waste anthropologist / archaeologist who is obsessed with uncovering the secrets of the old world. She can speak and read 14 languages and has a deep knowledge of technology and culture of the old and new worlds, right? So she's kind of the brains of the operation, and she loves spending time with Priscilla, because Priscilla's been around forever, right? Priscilla knows everything, so Priscilla's forgotten more than Mary will ever know. And so she's always constantly asking her questions and picking her brain and stuff like that, right? And our last main character, I'll say, is Lenny the Cyborg. Is a man cast out by society after he was transformed against his will by the mad scientist, Dr. Blutengor, right? Now, I wanted to give this scientist kind of a goofy name, so his name is Blood and Gore, but it's spelled B-L-U... Oh, Blood and it's spelled B-L-U-D-U-T-G-O-R-E, right? So, Blood and Gore.
Very nice.
Which I think is funny. He's wandered the wastes for a while before Priscilla found him, and he became the group's shifter wrangler, right? And so he's kind of the guy who... he's the guy who runs the caravan, because shifters are basically these massive underground creatures. They're evolutions of moles, right? Like a mole underground. They're basically that, but picture it 30 feet long and 40 feet wide, and these massive creatures that just make, holes underground. And that's how our characters, ride across the wasteland, is their caravan is pulled by a shifter, right? It's a sand shifter, right? And Lenny, because he's been ostracized by society because of his cybernetics, has a very intimate knowledge of these shifters and is able to not communicate with them, but he's able to train them and use them to help his friends, right? Because Priscilla and her caravan are the only people who have ever treated him decent after his transformation, right? And I have the overarching plot here is Priscilla is attempting to find a long-lost cookie recipe by searching through old world fonts of knowledge, right? So that's kind of her goal, right? Mary is trying to uncover knowledge in general. Lenny is trying to figure out how to be uncyborgified. And Jimmy is just looking to make as much money as possible because he's still a bit of a scoundrel. He's still a little bit of a scumbag, right? And they are just traveling across the wasteland. And I just think of the wasteland as pretty much any Mad Max style thing. There's not really trees. It's nuclear. It's post-nuclear, right? So it's all desert, all sandy deserts and death, And it will never be explicitly stated where this is all happening. But I'm kind of imagining it's like Siberia, right? Like Siberia has become this massive desert after some like horrible, world-altering wars and stuff like that, right? And so those are our characters, and that's our main thrust, right? And now I just have a bunch of ideas for episodes. And you, of course, Jacob, feel free to come up with any sort of ideas that you want based off of what I say. Anything you want to add into it, go for it. First idea is the introductory episode, the pilot, obviously, and we'll be showing how the gang saves Jimmy Mack, right? So they have Jimmy Mack wandering through the day. I think the opening sequence will be, Priscilla lying in bed, her whole family around her in 1863 Ireland, right? Her whole family's like praying behind her and like holding her hand, and she's like coughing and slowly fading away in her bed. And then we show her grandson, her very young grandson, like praying and looking up at the sky, and he sees a shooting star and he wishes upon the star, like, I wish my grandma never had to die, that sort of thing. And then we cut to the desert. We see Jimmy Mack, he's wandering through the desert, his lips are all chapped, the sun is beating down on him, there's like vultures flying around him maybe, or there's snakes around, nothing, and he's just wandering. And then this massive, like, we hear this thunderous, like, shaking going on. Jimmy's like, he's disoriented for a second, and he looks behind him, he sees this caravan being pulled, and this man seemingly skating across the sand. And then Lenny, riding the shifter, flies right past him, but then stops probably 30 feet ahead of him, and the caravan pulls up next to him, right? Being pulled by the shifter underground. And out of the caravan steps Priscilla. She looks exactly the same as she did in 1863, right? And she, opens the door of the caravan, extends her hand, and, pulls Jimmy in, and, like, he, like, passes out once he gets inside, and then, we have, like, a montage of them, or, like, not a montage, but it's basically, like, him, like, he opens his eyes, and they're, like, carrying him to the bed, and he closes his eyes again. He opens his eyes, someone's feeding him food or giving him water, and he closes his eyes again, that sort of thing. Till eventually he's healed fully, and he, like, gets up, and he is introduced to the whole crew, right? And then you see Lenny up front, and imagine Lenny's kind of doing the Dune, sandworm riding thing, where he's just skating across the ground with the two reins. And Jimmy's, like, thankful, and he's just talking, he's kind of avoiding why he was out in the desert, but Priscilla kind of won't let it go. And just as she's about to get, like, a little bit more serious about it, their caravan is hit by, like, cannon fire, right? These massive explosive fireworks, burst on the sides of the cannon, and Jimmy looks out and he sees, like, his former crew, the people he screwed over and led to the, the failure of the heist, and they're coming for him, right? And so Priscilla and the gang, they have to, like, get into battle stations, and we show, like, Lenny, he's riding the thing, and he's got a shotgun on in his hand, and he's, like, blasting the guys who are, like, riding up next to him. And I'm not thinking they're riding horses, but they shouldn't be in jeeps, I don't think. Like, I don't think they should be driving cars. I'm thinking maybe some sort of, like, creature, some mutated creature, maybe a snail, like really fast snails. They're all riding really fast snails right up next to him, and he's, like, blasting them off. He shoots a hole into the side of the snail's shell, and all this mucus goes pouring out and blood, and the snail falls over, and the guy gets trapped underneath of it or something like that. And this is a whole combat thing. We have a big action sequence at the front, and they're fighting, and there's, all this combat's going on, and people are boarding the caravan, and Priscilla's fighting them off with her sword, and she's stabbing guys and shooting guys. Sweet little old ladies doing all this stuff, right? And Mary first is like, maybe she's hiding, or she's got this, like, big shotgun, because she's not a fighter, and Jimmy Mack, he's hiding for a second, and then he's like, these people help me, and I'm the reason they're being attacked right now, and he picks up a gun, and he starts shooting guys, and he saves Priscilla, right, and all this stuff, and they're able to repel the bandits, and that's when Priscilla, realizing what happened, Jimmy explains himself fully, and then Priscilla shakes his hand and says, "You're welcome to join my crew if you want to," and Jimmy agrees, and that's the end of episode 1, right? I like the idea of them riding big snails. I think that's funny. Right, all right, and then episode 2. I have them arriving at Alexandria, which is the biggest city in the wastes, and Priscilla and Mary search through the great library that they have in this city, right, that basically has most of the knowledge contained in the wasteland either originals or duplicates. And they're searching for different things, obviously, because Priscilla's just looking for this cookie recipe, because she's lived so long that, like, she's very focused on things, because she's kind of seen the folly of, like, putting your faith in these big ideas, such as, like, knowledge or redemption or stuff like that. She's kind of just interested in small stuff that she can control. And Mary is searching for other more important stuff, one might say, like water purification or agriculture books or stuff like that. Maybe she can, use this knowledge to help complete her research. And maybe they can, butt heads about this stuff. We could sort of have a philosophical argument about the use of knowledge and what's truly important in this life. Meanwhile, Lenny and Jimmy are traveling through Alexandria. And because Jimmy has such a good knowledge of the criminal underworld, he's able to help Lenny find this witch who will be able to help him, like, answer some questions he has, because Lenny's super concerned, and he's, shunted by society, so he's always, like, covering himself up and hiding his cybernetics, And this witch, they walk in, she immediately knows he's a cyborg, and, like, she has him remove his hood and everything. We see she sees how cybernetic he is, and then he begins asking her questions all about, like, how can I reverse this? How can I undo this? And Jimmy's kind of looking back sadly, because he's like, this can't be undone. But the witch gives him hope. She says, there's only 2 ways that you could undo what was done to you so very long ago. You need to find the person who did it. Maybe, just maybe, they will have the technology that means that they could undo it. Or you need to find a very powerful techno-priest. Somebody who knows everything there is to know about the human body and technology. And maybe they will be able to undo this. And Lenny, happy. This is the first time he's had hope in years, And so he's kind of ecstatic, but Jimmy's he's a little bit more cautious because he knows how impossible those 2 tasks are. So Jimmy takes him to go get drunk at an underworld bar nearby that will not send anyone away, right? And so that's kind of how the episode ends, is with Jimmy and Lenny becoming closer as Mary and Priscilla get a little bit farther away from one another, emotionally, I mean.
Yeah.
Then I have another episode idea, which is the gang is traveling across the wastes again, not really looking for anything specific, just traveling, because that's what you do in this time. When they stumble upon this small town, they decide to stop for the night, get some real food, sleep in some nicer beds, maybe have some female company, if you know what I mean, wink wink. When they find out that this town is under siege. By what, you ask? Under siege by what? You have to say. By what? Charlie. You say by what?
By what?
A
Charlie?
werewolf. That's right. There's werewolves in this post-apocalyptic future, and so Lenny, Jimmy, and Priscilla decide to go out and search for this werewolf as Mary stays back and she does research on lycanthropy and stuff like that. And they're able to figure out, using the sniffer, or the shifter, the shifter has a great sense of smell, and so they're able to use that to find the werewolf. And turns out it's not a werewolf, it's a man who's been horribly, horribly mutated by the one and only Dr. Blutenka to become this horrible, monstrous, wolf-like creature that is, compelled to attack the local township. And the man who is the werewolf does not know why. He doesn't know why someone would do this to him. But, Lenny is kind of ecstatic. He's like, you're my first, you're the first person I've ever met who's also been, attacked by Dr. Blutenka, right? So, do you know anything about him? And the werewolf sadly says no. And Lenny, a little disappointed, says, you can come with us, though. You'll have a place. If you can control yourself, you can stay with us. And Priscilla kind of looks at him like, you're making a decision that we all need to make together. You're just making it by yourself. And then without a second's thought, Jimmy just blows the werewolf's head off, you know? And the werewolf is dead, and Lenny looks at him as like surprised and angry, and Priscilla kind of looks at him, and he's like, she's kind of taken aback, but she's not unhappy. She's like, that was probably what I was gonna do, but you need to be more tactful about that sort of thing. And Jimmy explains that the werewolf, you know, obviously was gonna rip their throats out while they slept. There was nothing that thing wasn't even human anymore, right? Lenny, you're still a man, but that thing was gone. It was too far gone, you know? So I did the creature a service by putting it out of its misery. And then they all go back to the caravan and they ride off into the night, you know, with Mary, knowing that the town is now safe, but there is an innocent man who had to be put down like a dog for it to happen. The second to last episode I have planned is the gang runs into this crew of wind pirates, which is basically, imagine like a ship, you know, with sails, but it's, you know, the sails are much bigger and the ship isn't made of wood. It's made of like or maybe it's made of like a very little amount of wood, and they sail their way across the dunes of this new world, you know, attacking caravans and killing people and raiding small towns and that sort of thing, right? But it's like a massive ship, you know? It doesn't go deep, but it's very wide. It's like a big thing, you know. This is maybe it's the size of a small town, but it's got sails and it flies across the dunes of the desert, you know, that sort of thing. And before they know it, the entire the crew is captured by these wind pirates, and they're all like in chains underneath on the ship, and they're like trying to figure out what to do. You know, they're trying to figure out an escape plan, right? And as soon as they've figured one out and they've enacted it, right, they've gotten out of their chains and they're like working their way through the ship, right, trying to find their way off and back to their caravan. That's when this wind pirate ship is attacked by all of these shifters, right, who like burst out of the ground and they start, you know, tearing this place apart. And it's like they're looking for something. Like Lenny says, I've never seen shifters act like this. This is crazy. And they go and, you know, they find their caravan and they see their shifter and they're like, all right, we can get out of here. And then they look back and they see all the women and children who live with these wind pirates, and they're like, we can't just leave all these people to die. Like, that would make us no better than them. So they go back and they try and repel the shifters. And Lenny knows a trick. It's like this hypersonic sound that repels shifters, and he you know, is able to make the sound maybe using like a foghorn or something, right? Something really loud. And he repels the shifters, and he's like, they'll be back shortly. We need to figure out why they're doing this. And they don't interrogate the captain. The captain thanks them for their trouble and then asks them politely to leave, right? And Lenny explains, like, you guys have something that they want. You know, what did you take from them? And that's when the captain reveals that they're transporting a massive shipment of shifter eggs to a local township, right? And then there's this whole, like, debate between one half of the crew and Lenny and Priscilla and stuff, who want to get rid of the eggs, like drop the eggs now and you'll have a chance of living, but if you keep the eggs you're gonna die. And then the captain and a few others and maybe even Jimmy I was like, well, if you go fast enough you can make it to the township and you've got a massive payday. But eventually Lenny is able to convince the captain and Jimmy that you have to leave the eggs, right? And so they leave the eggs and they go off into their separate way, but maybe we can have one, like, pirate, he was really looking forward to that payday and he's pissed off at Lenny for making it go away, so he attacks them and there's a bit of a scuffle, you know, on their caravan as this pirate snuck on, and Jimmy, you know, saves Lenny by stabbing this guy in the back and throwing him off, and he's, you know, eaten by a passing shifter, that sort of thing. And they leave the pirates and there's like a sort of mutual respect, and they've earned safe passage through the rest of the desert, right? And so I next have written down the two-parter finale of the series. So if you have any ideas for the for this season, if you have any ideas for episodes, now would be the time to put them in.
Okay, just so I've got the feel right, this is all about the journey of them fixing, what's his name, the cyborg
This
guy.
is all, it's all kind of about that journey. That's kind of the thrust of this season, but each one of the characters is going to be, like, experiencing change, you know? They're all evolving as the show goes on, but Lenny's story is kind of the forward thrust that everyone is following. Just for lack of a better, thing to do, basically. Like, Priscilla's like, I could do something else with my time, but this is pretty interesting, so whatever.
Well, they all have some sort of connection to Lenny, which makes them want to help him. He's in, obviously, a rough situation, so it makes sense. Maybe we could do some sort of, like, Mad Max shit, because they're out in the wasteland, What was their vehicle again? How do they get around? I can't remember.
It's a shifter, right? So the underground, like, moles, and they've basically built this like, big, think of, like, a apartment, It's like it's a caravan, so it's like a bunch of, like, little buildings on top of the back of the shifter that's basically being pulled by Lenny, who's driving it, right?
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, and you said it because it was the sandworm thing. Does it work like that?
Yes, but he has one, right? Like, Lenny has this shifter, and that's their shifter, and he can kind of wrangle others, but this is his. This is, like, Dolly, or whatever the fuck we name her. Let's call her Dolly, right? And that's the shifter that they
okay, so it's smaller, obviously. All right. Okay, interesting. We could do a shifter race. That'd be
that
cool.
would be fun. They do, like, Jimmy, gets into a gambling debt, and he bets it all that Lenny on a shifter race, and Lenny, has to get into the shifter race to win it, and he's really pissed off at Jimmy, and then he wins the race, and, Jimmy's like, yeah, we won so much money, and Lenny's like, we didn't win anything. I won a bunch of money. You don't have any debt. That's what you get from this. And, Jimmy's kind of, like, annoyed and unhappy, but he still, like, doesn't have a debt anymore. That could be fun. We could have a bunch of weird, like, guys, and they've decorated their shifters in all these weird ways, Like, they've got...
It should be really Fast and Furious.
Yes.
We should have, like, Vin Diesel play the main guy, the main thug. That they're going up against.
We have a main thug. We have somebody,
and maybe it's like a violent race too, because that's where we get the Mad Max into it as well. Because it's like, okay, wait, have you seen the show? It was an old Cartoon Network show. It was called Destroy, Build, Destroy.
No, I'm looking it up right now.
No, you have no idea what I'm talking about? Okay. This was a Cartoon Network show where they had
to know what this
they
is.
had to, like, build these contraptions, and then they had to, like, either complete a task or, like, fight each other with these contraptions, and then they would blow up or whatever.
I do remember
this. And then they would destroy them at the end with C4 or something. It was a great show. So, like, what if they had to take their, apartment or living space off the worm, and then they had to, like, build, like a battleship sort of thing on top of their worm in, like, a day, right? All teams have a day to build this battleship thing, and then they all fight while they're on the race.
I like that. That's fun.
And so you'll have people, like, boarding their worm and fighting. You'll have them shooting at other shifters while they're fighting. It's like this whole big competition thing.
I like that a lot, especially because it kind of makes it's not just, like, Jimmy's gotten Lenny into this problem. Jimmy's gotten everyone into this problem, and everyone's kind of pissed off at it.
Yeah. Everyone's in it, and, like, if they lose, their worm dies as well. Like, they have to give up their worm.
And Dolly, like...
So, like, they're completely fucked.
And I think everybody's, like, got horns and, like, battle paint and scars all over their shifter, and maybe Lenny's just, like, got Dolly has, like, a little bow on her head, right? And, like, each of the shifters is named, like, Death Eater, or, like, the spiked machine, or so, like, stupid stuff like that. And it's just Dolly, and she's, like, this sweet little one. And, Lenny and him.
And they're all, like, specifically bred for fighting, and this is just, like, a normal travel worm.
Exactly. But don't forget, they're moles. They're not worms. They have, like, faces and eyes and stuff. They're mammals.
I keep forgetting what they are.
Also, I forgot to mention this earlier. I did cast Priscilla in my mind. I didn't cast anyone else because they're not main. Priscilla's the title character. Priscilla, I cast as Emma Thompson. If you don't know who Emma Thompson is, Google her right now, audience. She's a very good actor. And I think she's got the right look for it, you know? Emma Thompson or Jamie Lee Curtis. One of those two, you know? Because I don't want to go so old that it's like she's decrepit, you know? But I don't want to go like, it's, you know, a young woman, but we're saying she's an old woman for the sake of the show, right? One sec.
Oh, if you're doing that, you could do, or you could also, another shout for a possible person is Sigourney Weaver, because didn't she play her daughter in Avatar? So she could do like a...
I like that a lot.
She's used to playing a young person as an old person.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like Sigourney Weaver a lot also. So I have our final adventure, unless you have any other ideas.
Well, Timothy Chalamet is obviously got to be.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet.
And you can't have Dune without Timothy Chalamet.
We cast him as Dolly. He does the mocap.
Dolly. Timothy Chalamet plays Dolly. I like it.
Yeah.
Blow our whole budget on the fact that we have Timothy Chalamet as a character that doesn't speak. And it doesn't have his face because it's a giant underground mole, so you don't even see it 99% of the time. Yeah. Totally worth it.
100%. All right. After searching the wastes and countless misadventures, the gang finally stumbles upon the Dr. Blood and Gore at Mount Gore. Is the name of the mountain that he lives on, right? And imagine like lightning strikes every time somebody says Mount Gore. Like it's a goofy 1950s style like horror movie sort of thing, right? And they battle their way through waves and waves of horrifying minions, you know, horrible like just like smashed together piles of flesh and metal who throw their lives away defending this castle, and insane and ridiculous traps, you know, floor spikes, wall spikes, acid baths, sharks that get thrown at people, like ridiculous traps, all this stuff. And they're battling their way, and it seems like they're about to get injured. You know, Priscilla's got this massive, like, spike bearing down on her, and everybody's, about to die. End of episode 1. Episode 2 starts. Lenny's able to, like, stop the spikes, and spikes raise up, and they make their way through more minions, more traps, all this stuff, and they finally make it to the top of Mount Gore. Crack. Lightning
Mount
crack.
Doom.
And they confront Dr. Blood and Gore, right? And discover that he is, in fact, Priscilla's grandson. The one from the opening of the first episode who wished upon a star.
Shit.
That's right.
Shit.
Through dark magic and even darker science, he was able to turn himself into an immortal, but not without sacrifices. And he, maybe we have like a dramatic, he turns around and he's like half machine and he looks like he's in horrible pain. Everything's rusted and disgusting. And he's like under a cloak and he creeps towards them and he throws off the cloak and he's like more machine than man, but he's like 6'7" and he's got like robotic claws and shit like that. And Priscilla, knowing that this creature, that was once her grandson, he turned himself immortal because of her, because he saw that she was outliving everyone, and he figured out that the magic of that shooting star was real, and so he learned that magic is real, and he mixed it with science, and she now knows that this creature who's sown so much pain across the wasteland is her flesh and blood, and has done this because of her. And so she has this final climactic battle with him. She pulls out his a sword, he gets his claws out, and it's just like this massive duel. And at the beginning, Priscilla's kind of winning, and then it kind of turns back and forth a few times, but eventually Dr. Blood and Gore is bearing down on her. He's got this claws, like he's about to strangle the life out of her. And that's when Lenny and Jimmy and Mary all jump in and they save her. Because, you know, it's not just her fighting. This is their fight. You know, they've formed a familial bond together, and they're not going to watch while their matriarch is murdered. You know, and Dr. Blood and Gore is like, Lenny, if you kill me now, no one will ever be able to transform you back. You'll be stuck like this forever. I know how to do it. I know how to change you. And Lenny, you know, looking over at his adoptive family who are taking care of Priscilla and looking up at him, he looks down at Dr. Blood and Gore, and he pulls out a gun and he points at his face and he says, I don't believe you. And he blasts his face off, right?
Boom.
Lenny, basically having resigned himself to this life of solitude with his new family, you know, picks up Priscilla, and they walk out of the mountain of Mount Gore, lightning crack, and they get back onto the caravan, and they ride off into the sunset, once again looking for adventure, riches, and survival. The end.
Yeah. That's not where I thought it was going. I was surprised.
Priscilla, Greatmother of the Wastes.
I thought she was gonna die. I was like, I thought Grandmother was gonna die.
Nope. She's immortal. Also, there wouldn't be a season 2.
Oh, is there? What's season 2?
I haven't thought of a season 2 yet, but I feel like
he comes back because he's immortal.
He's immortal. I mean, it could happen. Could definitely happen. But yeah.
You could have like where I thought you were going, and what you could possibly do in season 2 is like their immortalities are tied together. I'm trying to think of why. So maybe the shooting star crashed, right? This is just I'm just coming up with this as I'm speaking here. And he like he like went to it and he made his wish, but as well like up close to the star, because he was so close to it, it like fried his body. So he's immortal, but what's left of his body. And it's like, you know, it's really just his head and like part of his torso that are still there, and the rest of him like survived, but he was like, you know, brought somewhere, and somebody like helped put him back together, and he's added pieces of himself over time, and it always become this huge monstrosity. And like he also has some sort of magical abilities, which is what helped him tear apart Lenny into whatever the hell Lenny is now, which would allow him to fix Lenny. But then maybe, you know, once after he dies, whenever you kill him, their process that happened to Lenny gets reversed somehow because the magic's
gone. Or maybe Lenny is like kind of stuck like it, but Priscilla, like, maybe she begins to age a little bit, you know? That could be the beginning of season 2. Is like she's got gray hair, but, you know, it begins to fall out in clumps.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, you could have, like, the second season end like this, and then you could have the third season where she starts to die.
Yeah, I like that. I dig it.
Like, they find, like, you know, they didn't kill him in the first season. Second season is where they actually kill him. Third season, she's dying. And I feel like you gotta help Lenny out somehow. Like, would his stuff start to regrow, maybe? Because, like,
the
parts that were destroyed by magic are coming back.
Maybe.
I don't know how you do it. Maybe help him out a little bit.
But I think the point of Lenny,
because like when you say he's cyborg, how much of it is cyborg?
I'm imagining he's got a cybernetic hand, maybe a cybernetic foot, and like half his face. You know?
Okay. So maybe like some of him is starting to come back.
Maybe he's like
you know where he gets like it's only a quarter of his face is
maybe it grows over and he just has a red eye. You know,
that would be
very freaky. But I kind of like it.
Like it starts to come back, and he has to get like it could be good. But like not all of it, because only parts of it were destroyed with magic or something. I don't know how you explain it. But
that's fine. Yeah. But yeah, that was my show. Priscilla, Greatmother of the Wastes. I'm saying it fun.
I like your show. I don't like how you say it.
I gotta say, I'm trying to say it kind of...
You go into like a little German accent every time. You're like...
It's Priscilla, Greatmother of the Wastes. I'm trying to say it in like a...
You sound like your Baron von Baron character.
My greatest character.
In our classic Demons and Delinquents.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me has always been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give it a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, And remember, we will be right back here next week with a brand new television series for you to all imagine and enjoy. Goodbye.
Goodbye.